This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
I want to welcome you to this episode of Real Talk in just a second. As is the case, first episode of every week, Supriya Dwivedi joins us. Jesperson here with John Hicks as the world is reeling from a horrific terror attack. The first day of Hanukkah on Bondi Beach being recognized by many, many people of faith. Jewish people, of course, celebrating one of the most important holidays of the year, a holiday intended, obviously, to be a time where family and friends gather together in celebration. This is a situation, obviously an appalling situation that has global leaders offering comment as many, many victims, several dozen, are recovering in hospital at this point, 15 people dead. Australia talking about not only tightening gun cultures. This is a country that has made great strides and taken big steps to limit access to so-called rapid action firearms in the wake of another tragedy decades ago. We'll talk about this with Supriya in just a moment, but also the rise of anti-Semitism being discussed around the world. That's where we'll go today. We'll also talk federal politics. Pierre Poilievre going on the record this weekend with Rosie Barton on CBC says that the defections of at least two of his MPs, the resignation of another, is not a question on his leadership. It's a question on Mark Carney's leadership. We'll see what Supriya has to say about that. The conversations in this episode, this entire episode, is being presented by RapidX Financial. You can check them out online at rapidxfinancial.com. This is a proud made in Alberta solution offering crypto, including Bitcoin, your way through three easy channels. They've got over 100 ATMs across Canada. There's the online portal, rapidxfinancial.com, with Interac e-transfer, plus an over-the-counter desk for those of you who want maybe a little extra help. With RapidX, you get real people ready to assist you with no hidden fees and absolutely no chatbots. So whether you're starting from scratch or growing your Bitcoin journey, RapidX makes it fast, easy, and secure. And right now, exclusively for Real Talkers, an offer, 50% off your fees with the exclusive code Ryan50. That's Ryan50 on the online portal. This is a limited time offer and your chance to start crypto your way. Make sure you use Ryan50 at checkout when you visit rapidxfinancial.com. Well, she's a former senior advisor to the Prime Minister of Canada and a commentator on matters of political importance across the country. But she is stateside this morning, an unfamiliar location, as we check in with Supriya Dwivedi, who joins us first episode of every week in our feature interview presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. You're in Jersey, is that right? The Garden State?
I am right now speaking to you from my sister's guest bedroom. The light's weird in here. I don't know. Sorry.
No, it looks
Johnny.
good. It's a blown out background.
Okay.
It looks very professional. Very well done.
Yeah. So, for Canadians, this will be hard to understand, but apparently in America, if there's less than 4 inches of snow, it shuts down the entire airport in Newark, and flights get canceled and grounded and canceled again. And so I am flying. I was supposed to fly back yesterday in the morning. I did not. And the first flight they could book me back on was this evening at like 7 p.m. So I will be home back in Toronto, ideally later tonight. But yeah, right now I am in Glen Ridge, New Jersey, reporting live.
Glen Ridge, New Jersey. So yeah, we had some brief correspondence yesterday, and it, of course, our number one concern is number one, your safety, and number two, that we'll be able to see you. But it sounded like a bit of a nightmare there. So grateful to have you here with us, and I think you deserve a little extra credit for making it out this morning.
Yeah, man, anytime. I wasn't going to miss this. And as long as I could find a quiet corner in our house, I was not going to miss this. So
okay, good.
We're good to go.
Well, we're grateful to have you here. And I think, one of the things I think that's one of the many bonuses of having a recurring voice on this show like yours is I know that people feel like they get to know you and people look forward to your takes on things. We got a lot of ground to cover. We were planning on talking about Australia anyway, as that country has introduced some sweeping and relatively significant social media laws around young people, but the whole world is talking about Australia for a completely different and entirely tragic reason over the weekend, as mentioned. Gunmen opening fire on innocent, unarmed civilians gathering peacefully at a very popular tourist spot. I know that my brother and sister, both of them, they traveled to Australia. They always talked about Bondi Beach. Everybody talks about this gathering place, an iconic surf spot, a place where communities gather, and that's what many, many people of the Jewish faith were doing when individuals opened fire and snuffed out senselessly 15 lives, with many more. It's estimated at 27 to 30 people recovering in hospital. I mean, I don't know what you say about something like this, except for it's heinous, it's horrendous, it targets people of a particular faith group. How are you processing what we've seen over the past 24 hours or so?
I mean, my first thought was just how cowardly an act it was. And to your point about the anti-Semitic nature of it, like, it wasn't an accident that the two shooters, it was reported to be a father-son duo, targeted Jewish people on the first night of Hanukkah. In your intro, it's one of the high holidays, symbolizing, the perseverance of the Jewish people. It was just something that I think, for a lot of folks that have been, raising the alarm bells, or ringing the alarm bells rather, on the pervasiveness of anti-Semitism, across the world, but really in some, Western democratic countries like ours, like Australia. I think this for them was like, yeah, I fucking told you so. Like, we've been telling you that there are unacceptable levels of anti-Semitism that are, pervasive in discourse right now, in regular political debate and regular conversations. And when you normalize the sort of hatred, or, the kind of just the kind of pure it's unadulterated hate towards the Jewish people. And, if you allow that to fester, it metastasizes. And this is the kind of ways that it expresses itself in. And I've seen a lot of folks commenting on, well, because we're not like America, right? Canada, we are, I think, culturally more akin to a country like Australia. And so there are a lot of comparisons being drawn by, the Jewish community here in Canada, saying, well, look, if this happened there, it's only a matter of time before something truly horrific happens here. And I think it's incumbent upon all our political leaders, but as well as law enforcement, like rank and file law enforcement that are, on the ground dealing with this sort of stuff, to be a little bit more diligent and to enforce the laws. So when folks are blocking access to a synagogue or to a JCC or to, an elementary school that is that's a Jewish elementary school, the people that are blocking that access, the people that are harassing the kids going in, that are harassing, old people going into the synagogue, are held accountable and are held responsible and are charged. And I don't know that we're seeing that at the levels that we should be.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a long rant.
Well, I think a lot of people are ranting right now about this because it's, anti-Semitism has been a plague on humanity, forever, it feels like. And I think right now it's like one of the things. Can you tell I'm a little hesitant in my angle of approach on this next one, just because I think that what's been happening in this war with Israel and Hamas, and all of the conversations that have spun off from that are finding their way into analysis of this conversation, and I've felt it personally on a very, very small scale. I've observed it anecdotally with political leaders across the country and offering comments, and then the replies to the comments that they've offered, within the last 24 hours or so. And then there's the really high-profile stuff. I mean, look at this, like Australia's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese here. This is, rejecting links between the recognition of Palestine, the UN, and that attack at Bondi Beach. This after Benjamin Netanyahu claiming that Australia's recognition of Palestinian statehood fueled anti-Semitism. But Supriya, I even saw it like as a local reference here in Edmonton. Edmonton's new mayor, Andrew Knack, appearing last night at the lighting of the menorah, which is an annual and a traditional event typically attended by politicians and other community leaders. He had issued a statement, just like every other political leader did, basically condemning this attack, addressing anti-Semitism. But the comments were just ferocious from people that had noted that he had, welcomed I won't say a delegation, but a group of local Palestinian Canadians to City Hall a few days ago. This is just in Edmonton. I mean, you can look at any city across North America, around the world, and you'll see similar storylines to this. People claiming that recognizing Palestine or flying that flag at city halls or other government buildings has created an atmosphere that has, in candid terms, turned the world on the Jewish community. And it's just like, even on a personal level, when I posted about this yesterday, some of the responses about people saying that, progressives need to shut the fuck up on this and this, that, and the other. It's just like, obviously a terror attack is divisive. That's the entire point. But when I look at where the climate is at right now and where people are at right now, it almost, as they might say, heaps coals on all of this. It's gut punch after gut punch. Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I don't think we can have a conversation about this sort of thing really anymore in, I don't know, like mixed company or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like, I find the linking of the recognition of Palestinian statehood to this particular horrific act of anti-Semitism. I don't necessarily see that link. I don't know if law enforcement in Australia is pronouncing that to be a link. It seems like a bit of a stretch, considering that everything that I've read in terms of reporting, and this would have been up until like 2-ish hours ago, was pointing to the fact that the two shooters had apparently pledged allegiance to the Islamic State, and there was some Islamic State paraphernalia that was found in one of the cars that had belonged to them. So I don't know. I don't think that link is there. I don't know that it's been widely reported on yet. But I mean, I think the pervasiveness of anti-Semitism post October 7th, as well as, acts of hatred against the Muslim community, have been definitely more pronounced, or at least more reported on. There seems to be, at least, from our perspective of receiving the news, it seems like it's more of a thing. And I don't know, like, wherever you stand on the issue, I think the general, talking point or thing that we need to remember as Canadians or as Australians or anyone that lives in like a pluralistic kind of society is that whatever's happening between Israel and Hamas is not the fault of Jews or Muslims in this country, right? So it's like, you can be super against the Netanyahu government, but why are you harassing Jews in Canada over it? You can be super upset about, Hamas inflicting terror upon Israelis and, visiting Jews in the country of Israel, but that's not the fault of anybody going to, like a mosque here. Like, to me, it's like they're very different and they're very removed, but they tend to, in, the wider conversations, and I'm not talking about conversations like between me and you, I just mean like internet chatter, sort of, you know what I mean? Does seem to place the fault on the folks that are here. And that just should not be the case.
Yeah, I think that what you've said is bang on. I think it was also very diplomatic in what you're saying. I think that, to be honest with you, drawing a line between the two is ridiculous. And I think condemning folks' condemnation of a terror attack is far from productive. I don't find that the best conversations or the most insightful observations are occurring in Twitter replies. But I do see a lot of it in our live chat powered by Park Power. I think that there's a lot of people here that are making very salient and important points. Lorraine says you can condemn the war and Israel's actions and condemn anti-Semitism as well. She says both are completely wrong. Ken Kay says opposing, Israeli genocide of Palestinian people is not anti-Semitism. Others are saying incendiary language when filled with untruths adds to the hate. I mean, people are adding. I think that people are seeing it from a common sense perspective here in the chat. But it was just something that, I mean, as this is, we're talking about like a 10-year-old girl shot and killed. We're talking about a Holocaust survivor shot and killed, murdered, reportedly trying to shield his wife. I mean, like horrific stories. And it just, I don't know, in a situation like this, and maybe this sounds a little kumbaya, but you sort of hope that the world will come together here collectively. Maybe that's a pipe dream. I don't know, but I was just, really, really impacted by what I was seeing there. And then on the flip side, there's the story of this Ahmed Al-Ahmed, this civilian, reportedly has some sort of a fruit stand or something like that. His parents had just recently arrived in Australia as refugees from Syria. The guy, I think they said he's 43 years old, just a remarkable individual who said that it was a matter of conscience why he risked his life to disarm we'll say an alleged shooter at Bondi Beach, but just an unbelievable act of bravery from an average, ordinary, everyday civilian who I'm sure didn't see himself in that situation 3 minutes prior to.
Yeah, definitely not. And Johnny's showing the video up on screen there. And, for folks that are watching this on the pod that haven't actually seen the video of this just courageous bystander tackling the gunman is really something to behold, because he comes up on him just completely unarmed, kind of sacks him rugby style, you know what I mean, and just disarms him, takes the gun, and a hero is born. And I think in situations like that, a lot of us like to think that will be that person, right? But push comes to shove, it really is a true act of heroism and bravery, and not thinking about your own harm and thinking about the potential harm to those around you. So I mean, I don't have enough kind words to say about this man, but we clearly need more of him in the world. Because I think the quote that he gave as well about this is about humanity is quite poignant, and I think it's representative of what we need to sort of remember now and always. But we've strayed from that, and I think that's a real shame.
Yeah, the GoFundMe for this man. I'm not sure if you saw this, but it's already raised $1.5 million.
Wow.
The reports around it are incredible. I guess he told his cousin right before he rushed the gunman, quote, "I'm going to die. Tell my family." I just got chills when I read that. "I'm going to die. Tell my family I saved people's lives."
Wow.
This is just unreal. He as is being reported, no formal training, no military training, no vest, no backup, a split-second calculation. That no doubt, and authorities, police have said as much, as have political leaders in Australia, saved countless lives. What this guy did to jump in, it just needs to be recognized. People need to hear that guy's name. It's I think among all of these things that happen, these where we look at what humanity is capable of in a negative sense, in a horrific sense, these reminders still too that there are people around us, complete strangers, that will risk their own lives to save the lives of others. It doesn't take away from the fact that 15 people are dead. It doesn't take away from the fact that 30 people are fighting for their lives in hospital, or at least recovering from very serious injuries. But this guy sustained gunshot wounds while he was doing this, while he embarked on this, and just really incredible.
Yeah, I saw at least there's one politician that had gone in Australia to visit him, and he's just sitting on his hospital bed with this hero, just chit-chatting away, and it's like, wow, we do need more of that. Ahmed Al-Ahmed is his name, right? And like, to your point, we should all remember his name. We were talking about the humanity of this, talking about internet comments. There was a large surge of comments that were, pointing to the fact that this was because of open borders, or it was because of uncontrolled migration or immigration. And here is this guy who's the Syrian, refugee, came with his family, and is just, I don't know, like showing us all what it is to be a hero in real time.
Yeah, no kidding. So it is prompting, I guess, incidents like this, mass shootings, maybe aside from in the United States, and I'm not trying to be cute when I say that, but everywhere else, a tragedy like this, a mass shooting, will prompt conversation around gun control and access to firearms, in particular, what they're describing in Australia as the so-called rapid fire weapons. But this has been since Port Arthur, and this is where I guess we kind of tap into your expertise at a high level of advising a federal government. But Australia has had very strict gun laws for quite some time, and I know that politicians, elected officials in Australia right now, obviously talking about perhaps further changes that need to be implemented. It should be noted that this, we're saying suspect at this point, but the alleged shooter here, one of the alleged shooters here, was a licensed firearm owner. The firearms that were used in this, as far as police know at this point, though it's not been officially confirmed, were legally owned. That sort of a thing. What do you see happening here as far as you can tell or speculate, or what do you make of conversations that arise? You don't blame the general population for having this all over their radar when a tragedy like this occurs.
No, definitely not. And I mean, I think what the general sort of, conversation that will come out from this is going to be some sort of expansion into either a background check or social media checks. You'd have to imagine, and again, there are still early reports, not a ton of well-sourced confirmed reporting on this, but early reporting is pointing to the fact that they did pledge allegiance to the Islamic State. And if that is the case, you'd have to imagine there's some sort of digital footprint or social media activity that is left behind that would have pointed authorities or law enforcement to this. But then again, maybe not. And if you are a license, if they did everything according to the letter of the law, and to your point again, that's early reporting, sure. But I think it's definitely going to call for more gun control measures. I'm not sure the extent to which gun culture generally is a part of Australian sort of pride. I would imagine they're much more akin again to Canada than they are to the US on this. But no country, I think, would suffer something like that and not have some sort of conversation about further restrictions on guns, or at least some of types of guns that can cause, maximum carnage in a minimum amount of time. I think like you said, rapid fire, right? I think that's what in Canada is often we would refer to, and I know it's not a real designation of a gun, but an assault type style weapon. You'd have to imagine that they're having that conversation.
Yeah, the Prime Minister Albanese is proposing national gun laws today. This a number of hours ago, saying that he'll propose new restrictions, including limiting the number of guns that a licensed owner can obtain. We also know, just speaking candidly, that it only takes one, right?
Well, yeah,
you're talking about it's more the individuals, I think, than the weapons. But he also said this, that the government, quote, prepared to take whatever actions necessary, included in that the need for tougher gun laws. And here's the one: people's circumstances can change. People can be radicalized over a period of time. Gun licenses should not be in perpetuity.
Yeah,
and that's one
totally.
that I think as well. There's reporting that the son here, Naheed, who was born in Australia, by the way, his father, Sajid Akram, moved to Australia in 1998, so he's been there for a long time. But apparently authorities had been looking at him a number of years ago for about 6 months, and there had been an investigation there. So I guess he had been on authorities' radar. But that's a story that we'll continue to follow. But before we run out of time, it feels like a bit of a hard swerve, but I want to talk to you about what's been happening in Canada as well. Obviously, we were talking to Cheryl and Erica from The Discourse in our most recent episode on Friday's Real Talk as Michael Ma, in just a diabolical move, attends the Conservative Christmas party, participates or half participates in the Secret Santa, collects. We'll hear from Jamil.
It's just another wedge on the war on Christmas, Ryan. That's what this was.
You knew Michael Ma, the operative in the 2025 war on Christmas. But snaps a photo with his family, and leader Pierre Poilievre votes with the Conservatives the next morning and then crosses over to the Liberals, then attends the Liberal Christmas party that night. Back-to-back Christmas parties for the two parties. I mean, just unbelievable stuff. So, Rosie Barton gets Pierre Poilievre on the record this weekend on CBC. This is his first interview since these defections, Chris D'Entremont and Michael Mott together. And when asked whether or not this is a question on his leadership, a very interesting response. Most people may have already, you're already laughing, but here's what the leader of the opposition had to say.
You've now lost 2 MPs to the Liberal Party. Both have pointed to your leadership as issues. Michael Mott saying that he was more interested in unity than division. Is this a problem of your leadership at this point?
No, it's a problem of Mark Carney's leadership, that after Canadians clearly rejected a costly Liberal majority, because they knew it would mean higher grocery prices and higher food costs, he is trying to manipulate his way through backroom deals to get that majority.
He's allowed to do this, though, right? Floor crossing is allowed. You've benefited from it.
But he's trying to take a majority, a costly majority, that would drive up the cost of living and enrich Liberal elites, of course, but not through democratic means. My message to Mark Carney is that if you want a costly majority government to drive up taxes and deficits, then you have to go to the Canadian people and have them vote for it, not do it by dirty backroom deals.
Dirty backroom deals. I mean, I'd be pissed if I was him too. Rosie's also not wrong. Conservatives have benefited in past. What do you think about his take on it?
I mean, I think it's ridiculous. It's like me being like, oh, after a weekend of drinking and eating birthday cake with my sister, my jeans don't fit. That's not my fault. That's my fucking jeans' fault for fitting tight. Like, what? Like, how are you? Like, take some ownership, take some responsibility. It's clearly because of Pierre's leadership or his management style, whatever you want to call it. They very clearly have a caucus management problem in Conservative caucus. Otherwise, you wouldn't have had 2 floor crossers, one guy saying he's peacing out and never really coming back into politics. And according to, the Liberals, like House Leader Minister McKinnon was out just, making the rounds the past couple of days being like, yeah, there are more Conservative caucus members that are still frustrated with the current leadership and management style. So you'd have to imagine there's at least a couple more that are contemplating crossing over to the Carney Liberals. And if that's the case, then I mean, good for Mark Carney for garnering a majority by being a competent enough leader of a party that you have people that ran on the exact opposite less than a year ago that are now willing to cross over in order to what they, I'm sure, believe is best delivering for their constituents. I think Poilievre, I didn't really expect much of a different answer from him. He is that sort of guy, but he is going to have to, at some point, look in the mirror and ask himself, like, why do people keep leaving? Because until he answers that question, people might still keep leaving, and that's going to be very bad for him.
Liberal Minister Dominic LeBlanc went on the record on this as well, and had an unsympathetic approach to it all, as you might imagine. Here's what he had to say.
I listened to Mr. Poilievre's interview with you. He forgot how quickly they celebrated a couple of Liberal MPs that crossed to join the Conservative caucus in Mr. Harper's year. So memories are short here. Sanctimony is very high. And hypocrisy is never far away. So this, as you pointed out, is part of a parliamentary tradition. These people were elected by their constituents. They make decisions to leave Mr. Poilievre's caucus for whatever reason they decide. I'm comfortable that these MPs, in the case of my friend from Nova Scotia, Mr. D'Entremont, who made the decision some weeks ago, and Mr. Ma, it's an absolutely legitimate parliamentary decision, and we'll see if others also decide. Mr. Poilievre, of course, accepted no responsibility for those decisions from his caucus members, and that's also not unusual on his part.
So there's Dominic LeBlanc. He's not wrong. I mean, it's like, deep pull here, not that deep, but, it's like when the Tampa Bay Lightning left injured or not so injured superstar. You knew that there was a sports metaphor coming.
Yeah, I was like, where are we going with this?
When they left Nikita Kucherov on the IR, on the long-term IR, so he was off the books, didn't impact their salary cap. And then as soon as the playoffs started and the salary cap stopped counting under the old NHL rules, Supriya, he was magically healed and able to come back. The Tampa Bay Lightning going on to win the Stanley Cup. Now, they didn't do anything illegal. They didn't do anything wrong. That didn't mean all the other teams didn't turn their noses up at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Decent metaphor?
Sure, I think so. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning, though, is at least more scurrilous, or at least, less reputable than a good old-fashioned floor crossing. I mean, Dom there made the reference to the Harper years, but even under Trudeau, like Leona Alislev crossed the floor. I think it would have been when Andrew Scheer was leader of the Conservatives. The exact year escapes me. Let's say 2017-ish, 2018. And if you look back at Trudeau's comments at the time, as he's walking into question period, she's just crossed the floor. He's going to face her on the other side of the benches now. And his comment was something like, "Oh, I wish her well." Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what you should say as a leader. Like, you wish your departing MP well, and it'll then be up to the constituents in that riding the next time they go to vote to either vote them in or out.
This is a great comment here from RS in our live chat, powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider, says Michael Ma pulled the ultimate George Costanza move. Take a good one, right? Take a gift, don't leave one, and then go right to another company's party. So RS, that's 2 points for you. Let's hear, just real quick, I know you got a bolt, but Kate McKenna asked Conservative MP Jamil Jivani about this, about the rumors around the gift exchange, the Secret Santa exchange. I know this isn't the biggest story in the world right now, but I'm just finding pure entertainment at a time where we could all use a laugh. And here's what Jamil Jivani had to say about it in confirming the details.
Can you just explain the Secret Santa thing?
Oh, yeah. Well, like most workplaces, we had a Secret Santa, and so everyone got assigned a name. I purchased my gift for my dear friend Mel Arnold. And when we were all giving out gifts, I didn't have one given to me. And I thought, wow, maybe someone forgot, no judgment. And then when Michael Ma crossed the floor, I wondered, maybe I didn't get a gift because he decided not to give one. And maybe he decided to give it to a Liberal instead. So I did inquire as to who was supposed to be my Secret Santa, and it turns out it was Michael Ma. And I did not get a gift. So just want it noted for the record.
Will you be asking for one, or?
At this point, I don't know. I don't know if I would trust whatever he wants to send me.
Okay, so there you go.
It's first of all hilarious, and I love the fact that Jamil actually went out of his way to check, because I would have done the same thing. That's the most relatable thing I think he's said to date as a politician, and makes him super likable. And thank you for fighting the war on Christmas with us, Jamil, because it's a real thing. Right?
Yeah. Hey, I want to go on the record here. What is this? What day are we at right now? It's the 15th of December. We'll let everybody know, by the way, that we will be hanging out one more time before we break for the holidays. You're going to join us next Monday on the 22nd. That'll be our final public show of the calendar year. So we're looking forward to that. But wanted to let you know just ahead of that and on the record that Jamil Jivani is going to be my sleeper pick if things go sideways for Pierre Poilievre at his leadership review in January. And I'm not saying they will. And maybe we'll end today's hang with the prediction from you. I think he survives his leadership review in January. I know that the optics are tough right now, and I think he's going to have to deliver a hell of a speech. But I don't see anybody really, really at his heels in a perceived sense within the Conservative caucus. You kind of get the general sense, at least, aside from everybody leaving and joining the other party, that everybody else, there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of MPs that are coming forward to question the leader. Not a lot of Conservative MPs that are doing that. For now, they're towing the party line. However, the next time there is a leadership vote, and if it happens to be on the heels of this January leadership review, I'm keeping a close eye on Jamil Jivani. How about you?
I think that's a good pick. My only caveat that I would just put out there is that I'm not sure what his French is like. And I think whomever takes the head of the party next has an opportunity, particularly in Quebec, to kind of chip away at some of those Bloc Québécois seats in the more, much more francophone areas of the province. I mean, the whole province is francophone, but you know what I mean? I don't mean like the Montreal center and the surrounding suburbs. So that, I think, but I don't know, maybe Jamil's French is good. Maybe he's been taking a ton of French lessons.
If I'm him, I mean, I remember back in the day, this was like, I remember this as how old would I have been at the time? Like 15, 16, 17 years old. Buddies with Nathan and David Manning. I remember them talking about their dad, Preston, like hammering down on French lessons, like, the adult version of French immersion, trying to scale up and be able to get to a point where he could publicly debate and take Q&A en français in a way that would convince Canadians that he could be the next prime minister. It's doable. If I'm Mr. Giovanni and others, I'm making that a top priority.
Hey man, Doug Ford's been joking about taking French lessons for the last like 5-6 years now. So yeah, get on it.
Yeah, get on it. Hey, we will hang out next week, and you've got a great piece in the Star that I want to at least reference, and we'll touch on this. I think next week it's not like super time sensitive. We can talk about what Australia did on social media, in particular with minors, with teens and younger kids. But we'll let people know and flag it. If you want to maybe just give us like a one-sentence primer here at thestar.com, people can read your op-ed. It's just out. Mark Carney's bill to protect kids, you say, has one big blind spot. Want to tee it up for our conversation next week?
Yeah, totally. And it's not a dig. Like, again, I didn't choose that title. You know what I mean? So we was talking.
I feel like I should offer that caveat every single time. I should point out, because I put you in a tough spot every week. You're not your own headline writer.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's all good, man. But so yeah, like they came out with this. It's like amendments to the criminal code that are looking at a bunch of different measures. In my column, it really sticks to one point of the amendments, which is to make sexual extortion, often referred to as sextortion, a crime, and to give police better tools to be able to, prosecute and to jail the folks that are doing this. Now, sextortion increasingly happens to kids where they get catfished into, sending compromising photographs, videos, perhaps, or even, text exchanges. And then the criminal, who's a predator, will then lord that over the kid's head to say, well, if you don't, send me money, you don't send me more videos, you don't, et cetera, then I'm going to show these photos. And in way too many cases in, the last 5 to 10 years, kids have taken their lives over it because, they don't want the shame. They don't know what to do. And too often, these predators are able to operate. But the blind spot that I referred to in the column is the fact that these large online platforms themselves create a structure and these incentives so that the predators are allowed to operate. Like, there are unredacted court filings in the US, within the last few months that point to Meta in particular. As an example, you have to have 17 violations of, being a child predator before they will actually shut down your account. What? 17 violations, Ryan. Like, that's insane. So, like, until we're actually demanding accountability and responsibility from these platforms, we're not going to really get anywhere. And I'm not saying like the moves aren't getting somewhere that the Carney government has made, because it's a step in the right direction, 100%. But we need to be doing more, and we need government to act. And I think we'll probably leave it there, and then we can tee it up for our next convo, because I do want to get into the Australia stuff. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, we'll touch on it here. I know you got a bolt. Is it your sister like put home renos on hold for 10 minutes so we could wrap up our interview? Is this true? There's like there's a contractor just waiting with like the hammer right above the nail right now, just waiting.
Exactly, a jackhammer ready to go. Yeah.
Okay, let your sister know. We'll see if we can FedEx some Friesen Brothers sourdough cinnamon buns out to New Jersey to thank her for that extra grace. It's good to see your face. We'll see you again next Monday, 22nd.
You too, man.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You got it. That's Supriya Dwivedi joining us. First episode of every week, courtesy of our friends at Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. As always, you can let us know what you think to talk at RyanJesperson.com. Leave a comment on our YouTube episode if that's where you're watching this. You can comment on Spotify. Or if you're catching us live, weekdays at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern, like Kenzie, you can just leave a comment in our live chat. Kenzie says to me, I don't know why I put it that way. That was kind of a weird way to put it, wasn't it? Kenzie says to everyone in the chat, says basically on floor crossing, says it is not okay when the majority is so close, talking about floor crossings. Doesn't like the idea of a floor crossing when it really, and that's what makes this so wild is it gets those, those liberal strategists, the backroom strategists that are doing all the math. As you know, if you're an audience member on this show, you already know this, one away from a majority. The next one would be, do we say will be? Is there going to be some posturing happening over the Christmas break? I saw Cassandra saying as much right now, kind of like a holiday cliffhanger. Everybody's going to wonder who's going to be next to cross. Obviously a big one. It'll change the entire dynamic. It changes the entire landscape, not just for Mark Carney, but for Pierre Poilievre as well, for everybody, for Canadians. You've got yourself a majority government. All of a sudden, everything changes. I see a lot of you as well. Kenzie goes on to say, I just don't like it because it seriously impacts the landscape. It absolutely does. Erica says, I get that floor crossing is part of our system. I just don't like it and I don't respect it. You don't like your party's current path? Sit as an independent. Erica says, I have no issue with that. I think that actually takes guts. And Erica, I'm inclined to agree with you to a certain extent. I think sitting as an independent is, it's a boss move, right? All of a sudden, it's Elizabeth May will show respect, obviously, to the Green Party. She's not an independent. But Elizabeth May, with that one seat, the Greens' one seat in the House of Commons, carries a ton of influence, a ton of heft with that one vote, right? So would an independent, but there's also benefits. It's detrimental from a staffing support, from a funding, from a sort of a collective strength perspective to sit as an independent for sure. But I'll take Erica's point on that. And it's an interesting one. Let us know what you think. We'll get to more in the live chat. Plus, we have clarification from real Talker Helene, who wrote into the show after a comment I made about membership to the NDP. This was a conversation that we had last week. Helene wants me to clarify something, and I absolutely should, something that was not on my radar. We'll get to more of your comments. And then an amazing positive reflection from Eileen will bring us home here, presented by our friends at Solar by Kuby. These conversations with Supriya and all of our other guests happen with the support of incredible partners like our friends at North Road Investment Council, a steady hand and a studied voice to guide you through wealth and investing. This December, as you, your family, perhaps your corporation are evaluating where you're going to show your support to nonprofits, to groups that, of course, deserve our support. A month of generosity, that is December. But, for a lot of us, we're maybe not taking advantage of ways to maximize our donations to those groups. You know that if you're donating appreciated investments like stocks or mutual funds, ETFs that have grown in value, you can save a ton on capital gains. In fact, appreciated securities, capital gains tax is completely exempt when they're directly donated. And that means more of your money goes to the charity and less of it to CRA. Plus, personal donors have access to generous federal and provincial tax credits. Business owners can receive strong corporate tax deductions, all designed to reward meaningful giving. This is just one example of many where North Road Investment Council is going to help you make the most of these rules so your generosity can go further. You can reach out to them today by way of their website. That's northroadic.com, North Road Investment Council, to learn more about intelligent giving strategies, plus investment counsel, financial planning, digital risk advisory, and insurance. That's northroadic.com. As you're considering your family or perhaps your company's giving through this month, we encourage you to consider UCAN Youth Services. They're doing amazing work helping young people out of harm's way and onto a path of economic independence. And as these young adults enter the workforce after these Earn While They Learn programs, amazing programs, you can read more on the website, we encourage you to give the gift of confidence by stuffing a stocking. For $100, you can fill a full stocking, including a coffee gift card, bus tickets, toques and mittens, a power bank, so these Young folks entering the workforce can do the simple things like charge their phones, show up on time. A hygiene kit, a reusable water bottle, a full stocking, just $100 goes a long way. Give that gift of confidence at youcan.ca. Johnny, our family was lucky enough to get our hands on an early delivery of a Christmas dinner box from our friends at Friesen Brothers, this classic Christmas dinner box. Took it for a test drive yesterday. You'll be able to see more on Carrie Skelton's Instagram in the days to come, but I can tell you knocked our socks off as it does every single year. Check out cateringbybefriesen.com to order your Christmas dinner box for just $99. You'll feed 4 people, and I guarantee I can't guarantee, but you'll probably have some left for leftover turkey sandwiches. This is a beautiful chef-prepared meal, including roasted turkey, white and dark meat, roasted baby potatoes with all the fixins, creamy dill carrots, some tray buns, that Mother Dough Bread Co. tray buns, cranberry sauce, and turkey gravy. Absolutely delicious. You pop it in the oven to warm it up, then you serve it. All the work is done. How are you going to make that yourself for less than $99 for 4 people? You're not. You can order today at cateringbybefriesen.com. You can place your orders all the way through till January 7th. Visit cateringbybefriesen.com to learn more. And our friends at California Closets encouraging you to think outside the box this holiday season. If you're buying for your best friend in the whole wide world, perhaps your life partner, your soulmate, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it is that seems to have everything but nowhere to store it, why not take him out for lunch and then pop into a California Closets showroom for a free consultation? How fun would that be for a date? Dream about that walk-in closet, maybe that laundry room overhaul, or the dream custom garage storage system you've always wanted. California Closets can work with any budget, any space, everything they install, manufactured in Alberta and guaranteed for life. A proud Canadian-owned company. What a cool Christmas gift that would be. You can request and book that free consultation today at californiaclosets.ca. Johnny Infamous, the technical director of this show. What did you make of Pierre Poilievre's comment to Rosie Barton? I mean, I guess you'll credit him. Rosie said she said 6 months ago, I saw her talking over the weekend to Ian Hannah-Mansing. It was just last night. She said 6 months ago, Poilievre wouldn't have even done that interview. I'll let this audience know we have refreshed our interview request with Pierre Poilievre and hope to speak with him in the new year. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the take that this is an indictment of Mark Carney's leadership, the floor crossing. I get he doesn't like it, but I'm not sure it's a problem with Carney's leadership.
It's kind of the opposite to people who don't like someone like me from the outside looking in, who's not like, other than this show, a serious Politico. It obviously is not an indictment, isn't it? People wanting to follow his lead, maybe some people who were sitting on the fence and kind of got teeter-tottered over to the side that they kind of agree with more. It also shows that, he's not this left-leaning guy like Trudeau. He has a lot of conservative policies, at least fiscally, that he's trying to put through. And I would have liked to hear Pierre say, because he keeps talking about the high prices of groceries and the affordability, costs of living, but everything he wanted to do, Carney has done. I mean, the
axe the tax.
The carbon tax is gone, but it just showed us. I'll just say it. It's kind of corporate greed. It's the companies that really control the prices, because once that carbon tax went away, I didn't see any change. If anything, I saw a little increase in stuff like, well, that's just the season, fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. But like prices didn't dramatically drop.
You didn't see like a 5-cent drop per dollar on everything.
I didn't see nothing. And so I'd like to hear more about what he thinks he could have done better, because, Carney's chipping away at these things. And I know he kind of is. It's like the Spider-Man pointing at the other guy, and like monkey see, monkey do. And we talked about this before. Like if the opposing team or the other side of the aisle has a good idea and you take it, is it really that bad? I mean, you saw a good idea and you took it. So he's chipping away at these things Poilievre said that the Conservatives would do, but I didn't really see a change. I mean, did you in cost of anything once that carbon tax was gone?
No, and I mean, although to be honest, and this is kind of like I don't know, politicians never talk like this because they would be indicted. If you ever want to like really get a politician when they're talking about affordability, these are always the journalists that make the most progress and get the good clip. And you also may never get to ask a question of that politician again, but the politicians that say something like, how much is 2 liters of milk right now?
Yeah.
Right?
And they don't know.
Like, what's a...
Because they have a maid and they have a gross...
What's 89 octane gas per liter right now?
Exactly.
And most people...
The average person can tell you.
There's a lot of folks that'll know exactly what gas is at. I talked to you about how it just blows my mind how, when gas drops down, whether it's a promotional rate at a particular place, like one of these big box stores that has loyal folks who pay an annual membership to go there and will line up for like an hour at the gas pumps to save 30 cents a liter. I get it. It's all a question of like, what's your time worth? But some people are hyper aware of the exact price of a liter of gas or 2 liters of milk or a loaf of bread or cauliflower. And other people kind of just don't really realize, I think, until you get the sticker shock. But I know that for a lot of people, it's like when you're looking at what a pint of blueberries costs or something like that, and you look at it and you go, gosh, like, is this really worth like $9.50 or is this really worth like $11.75 or $13? I think it kind of sneaks up on you until it punches you right between the eyes. Yeah. And that's when people have noticed, I think for the most part, a lot of people were talking about beef and just how prices that have risen, with some items disproportionately.
Sure.
So I'm not sure that I would notice like a 5 or 10 cent difference, but you sure notice it when it's more dramatic than that. I mean,
and when you're buying a lot, like I get it that like 5 cents on this, 10 cents on this, $1 off that isn't much. But I was at Walmart the other day, like getting a mop and just replacing my mop, and I saw clearly, I think it was a partner, husband and wife, and they're filling up a shopping cart with like, I don't want to say 30, maybe 20 loaves of bread. So wow. I'm thinking large family, right? So when you're buying big bulk items like that to feed, your 4 or 5 or whatever kids, I mean, those little things add up, and over week and month over month, and at the end of the year, it is dollars and cents that you can put in other places. But yeah, I just don't. I didn't see a change at all. I know we're kind of like staying on the carbon price thing when we should be talking about floor crossing, but and then people will say, well,
buddy, we talk about whatever we want. We talk about what people are talking about.
People will say, well, it's the industrial carbon pricing that actually went up a little that's affecting it. But we know that industrial carbon pricing, it doesn't affect groceries hardly at all.
Well, right? I mean, if you oppose the carbon tax, you'll argue that it does. And if you support carbon pricing, then you'll argue that it doesn't. But I mean, to bring it back to Pierre Poilievre, it's a situation now where optically he's got an issue, and the next MP to cross would trigger, you have to imagine, even stronger introspection within the party, because now you have conservative MPs right now, and this was kind of interesting. We've had some analysis on this in the past week, including with Cheryl and Erica. I really enjoyed that conversation with them, saying MPs like Matt Jeneroux or Chris D'Entremont or Michael Ma were mentally prepared that election at the end of April to govern. That's why any elected official or would-be elected official seeks office to form government. And when you don't form government, it's disappointing. And perhaps it gets you to a point, and I know people in the chat will say, well, that's not the spirit of public service, and that's kind of a BS position to take. Mm-hmm. But just in real life, realistically, maybe there's sports parallels here. I don't have to make everything a sports metaphor. But if your team keeps losing, at some point you may figure that it's time to go to another team, or maybe time to hang them up and retire. And, so you look into the minds of MPs that are either deciding to cross the floor or like Matt Jeneroux deciding to retire. I'm sure multiple factors at play there. But you lose the election, but the Liberals have a minority government. Now you go, okay, guys, we're going to hammer down for like 12 to 18 months till the next election, right? They're going to call another election. Carney's going to seek that mandate. He wants a majority position. It's much easier to govern. It's easier to get your budgets passed and do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. If all of a sudden that runway gets twice as long, right? And all of a sudden you're a majority government and there's no election coming for the next 4 years, it's gonna change, I would imagine, the psyche within that Conservative Party and maybe influence how things go with Pierre at his January leadership review. But I would just say, and I'm not an insider, obviously, but based on what I see to this point, it seems like he still has the majority of his MPs in line. You don't see, like, typically it starts to trickle. And when these leaders start to encounter real problems, like provincially or federally, you'll start to see those under them start to speak out. And to this point, aside from the ones that have left, you haven't really seen it.
Well, how many are still waiting in the wings? But like, I think it's funny because we started this conversation, him and his indictment of Carney, but it's clearly a deflection because the microscope is on Pierre right now. Like you just said, lost the election, minority government, but now creeping. It's like his hand is on a ledge, right? And someone just keeps stepping on a finger and he loses, and another finger and another finger. So I'll just ask you, like, if before Christmas, which very well could be, a majority government is formed, one more person crosses, does he even make it past his January review?
Well, I mean, not everybody here in the chat thinks that he will. Emily G says, I don't see Poilievre continuing through January.
I agree. I'd have to agree.
Michael Scott says Poilievre doesn't understand what self-reflection is. You can't take him seriously. Like, I wonder, and maybe this isn't realistic. Maybe this is why I'm not a federal party leader. But you wonder, like, appearing on Rosie Barton and knowing that Canadians are going to see that interview, when she says to you, is this an indictment of your leadership? What if he were to,
over her?
Well, what if he were to say something along the lines of, when you lose an MP that crosses the floor, it obviously prompts some reflection. And when another crosses when you least expected it, of course it's something that I've been thinking about. And when it comes to the direction of a political party, that starts at the top, and that's me. And and I had an opportunity to either speak with both of them or not before they left, and it's something that I'm thinking about, and as a conservative caucus, we're going to be talking about this and having frank and open conversations, free conversations, where my MPs have been invited to speak freely about the direction that we're moving in and what the future of this conservative party needs to look like. It's something that, my team and I are taking under consideration. It's something that I'll be reflecting on through the holidays as we continue to serve Canadians' top priority of ensuring that life is affordable in a country that they can be proud to live in. Something
Wouldn't
like
that
that.
be great?
Well, but I mean, is it that hard to say something like that? I mean, it's just, to me, and I know some people will feel like, you're just piling on Pierre Poilievre now. I just think it's almost,
but
it's almost embarrassing. Like, is this an indictment of your leadership? No, it's an indictment of Mark Carney's leadership. It's an indictment of the guy who just pulled two of your MPs and is one MP away from a majority government. I mean, it's just not. It's almost it's a laughable take. It's a laughable opinion, and I just think, and one of the things that, despite the fact that Poilievre has moved on from his senior advisor Jenny Byrne and is working now with this guy Steve Outhouse, who has a very well-respected career, and I think is seen as a formidable strategist, and he's now working with Poilievre and the Conservatives. I just think, like, probably the biggest indictment on Pierre Poilievre, and you hear this from his critics, is how inflexible he is, and how he's not pivoted, and how he's not read the room, and how he's not been willing to adjust course based on what's not working. And I was listening to that Barton interview just going, are you serious right now?
Yeah, I know. And this must be on the minds of the floor crossers too. Like, he hasn't changed. He's not going to change. If anything, he's pushing harder. I mean, Carney came in, swerved in, became like Trump's chummy best friend. Well, let's be honest. Any Canadian leader, he's gotten the closest to him, won an election, dismayed all these things that were being thrown at him by Poilievre about Brookfield, and he's going to raise the cost of living and all this stuff, and now has shook hands with the Premier of Alberta to build a pipeline. I mean, if anything, I would be the guy who was being a bit more humble, but it seems like he's just pushing more. So that would make me think that in the back rooms, like, I don't think there's an email or a meeting going on with Pierre Poilievre and the rest of his team and the rest of the Conservatives being like, hey guys, listen, I know some of you have lost belief in me, but trying to instill some sense of like reassurance to them. I honestly could see him just getting mad at this point and being like, who the is next? And if you know what I mean? But like, you should be more reserved. You should be welcoming people into the fold, and you definitely shouldn't be going on Rosie, even though, like, obviously Rosie likes to push PP's buttons. That's what she does.
Well, I think
but talking over her and just like, you know what I mean? Like, take a second, man.
I think
chill
it was
for a minute.
Good that he did the interview.
Of course, he always does, which surprises me.
Availability is a positive. I just felt like, I mean, it's like, we all have that friend that is
Yeah,
that is stubborn and set in their
abrasive,
ways, and
yeah.
whatever it is that they're doing, and wherever the deficit is in their personal or professional life, and they're not adjusting course, and it's like it's a road to ruin. You know how this story ends, right? Want to shout out, by the way, Ken K, who's been watching us, says he's got to take off to go for work, so he's going to switch over to the Mixlr live streaming audio app, which is awesome. Of course, the Real Talk live stream presented by California Closets. So Ken K, enjoyed the rest of the show on Mixlr. And Marie, who's letting us know she has to take off, she says because she's on her way to an anti-coal rally. The reason I'm reading that is to let you know, following the Premier's interview with us, Daniel Smith joining us just last week, you can catch that in our podcast archives. Find it on our YouTube channel. Daniel Smith and Naheed Nenshi joining us last week as we talked to the leaders of Alberta's two main political parties. She says that the Premier says Corb should take yes for an answer when discussing what the province has done on the coal file. Well, we heard from Corb Lund, as you might imagine, after that interview, and his text basically jumped out of my phone. He's feeling very passionate about this and has requested the platform to follow up. And so Corb Lund is going to join us again in our next episode of the show. That's going to be the 16th of December. Johnny is just looking like a kid on Christmas Eve.
I love what you're doing here, but like, let's be honest, requested, like
demanded.
This is going to be the most fired up you've ever seen Corb before, just from some of the texts I saw, and you were filing or rifling off to me about how he felt that she even invoked his name and everything. It is going to be.
He didn't love it.
Like, if you are not here for this, you're going to miss out.
Like 10-ish live, or of course most of you will catch it later. But out of the gates, remember this guy, Dr. Raj Sherman. Remember Dr. Raj? He's he's an ER doc with a long career in medicine, also of course a public servant involved in politics for quite some time, also switched parties, by the way, did Raj Sherman. Maybe we'll ask him about that tomorrow, but Dr. Raj is going to join us in studio tomorrow as well. He's just wrapped up a role as an advisor in a key position on the future of healthcare in Alberta, so we'll get a perspective from Dr. Raj Sherman on kind of like where the politics and practical application of healthcare intersect. I'm expecting a good interview there. Ms. B says the bitterness and contempt that Pierre Poilievre can't even hide anymore reminds me of Daniel Smith's face whenever the Globe and Mail's Carrie Tate asks a question after a UCP announcement. Yeah, I don't think that Carrie Tate and Daniel Smith are exchanging Christmas cards this year, but Carrie has been quarterbacking the Globe and Mail's coverage of the so-called corrupt care scandal. That's what Naheed Nenshi referred to it as on the show the other week.
Just that mental picture of what they just said. I think I'd be the same way. If I had to go to work every day and another person was crossing the floor and I just, like, he must go home and just yell into a pillow Carney's name. I mean, and I'm not joking around here or trying to make fun. He must just, like, Carney is living rent-free in Pierre's head right now, and it's totally, I believe, affecting his demeanor. Like,
Dubious says, I agree with Erica's comment about sitting as an independent. Sit independently. Crossing to another party shows that you didn't actually believe in anything to begin with. The parties are far enough apart that the differences are moral. I don't actually know. I mean, correct me if you guys think I'm wrong. I'd love to just a quick email, bullet points. Call me to the carpet. I'll read your emails on the next episode. I don't know that the Liberals and the Conservatives are ideologically that far apart right now. To be honest with you, if you look at how Carney's governing, I mean, the MOU with Alberta and talking about pausing the tanker ban and making a deal. Yeah, there's been an adjustment on the industrial carbon pricing, but also it's had a correlation on a more industry friendly policy on the emissions cap, and I mean, like, cutting taxes and yada yada yada, and like doing what they can to, I think, incentivize private builders to it. I mean, there's just like a lot of examples where I don't see. I mean, I don't think Pierre Poilievre would have recognized Palestinian statehood at the United Nations. There's one example off the top of my head, but I don't actually. I mean, a lot of people are making the argument that Mark Carney is governing as a progressive conservative right now. So I don't know that ideologically they're all that different. I do think that the leadership styles are very different, although that also depends on what you hear. Like, behind closed doors, Mark Carney's like not a pushover. We've heard reports
Supriya,
that he's quite assertive.
He
he's quite opinionated. He's quite assertive. He maybe doesn't kind of runs his own show and isn't maybe open to as much feedback from his caucus members.
But it's funny because, like, you know,
so there may be similarities there too.
You see him behind the scenes, like you saw that little clip of him saying ageism when, like, a reporter asked him how old he was, and he said, "I'm 40," and he turns and he's got his one foot up like he's skipping away, and we're all like, "Oh, that's lighthearted." And you see him at the Down with Webster concert, and he looks like this funny little old guy in his red hoodie, and he's having fun. But then just in the last 2 months, and stuff from Supriya and other people I've heard, is that that is not the way it is behind the scenes. He's a very assertive guy. So maybe I think if Pierre just tone it down to 8, man. You're always at 11. Just tone it down to 8 and see if it helps you.
But
you know what I mean?
like, you know what I would, and again,
it doesn't mean you got to be a pushover. It doesn't mean you got to be a softie or whatever people want to say.
I don't think you could be a softie.
Just turn it down a little, man.
Yeah, and again, then maybe you're asking, like, you know, I mean, maybe you're asking, I mean, and this is the test of a true leader, to do something that you got to prove that you're capable of doing. And maybe he feels like he's incapable of it, like sort of.
Maybe he actually is incapable.
That sharp tongue kind of thing. But what would be wrong? I mean, like even this Giovanni thing, like, you know, Explorer Hollis, shout out to you. Hollis says, you know, I don't like Jamil Giovanni, but that was a real moment. That clip that we played as we said goodbye to Supriya, that was a real moment of him being real. Stuff like that. Hollis says stuff like that brings people around. Like, show that you're not a robot in a politician's suit. Like, what if Pierre Poilievre were to say on CBC, like, "How do you think I'm feeling, Rosie? I'm obviously choked." And then a little chuckle, and she's going to chuckle a tiny little bit, say, "Yeah, like, not great." Not great. Obviously, I'm reflecting on this. But, you know, perhaps he's getting advice of people that are saying, like, hold your ground, dig in your heels, stiff upper lip, you know, like, be assertive, be confident. The fact of the matter is I don't know, man, like, everybody sees what's happening. So what does a real life, likable person look like? What does true, real leadership look like in this time?
How are you doing? And if he was like, "Well, you know, Rosie, it hasn't been a great couple weeks," like that, we get a laugh from that because we all know that's what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But just tone it down a little late. That clip we saw of him doing the CBC clone thing of him on stage, they both bite the apple, they
At the
laugh.
Parliamentary Press Gallery?
Like,
it was perfect.
I'm not saying take everything as a joke or not be serious, but to be super serious all the time and to constantly deflect it back and say it's an indictment of Carney when clearly it's the opposite. People are feeling Carney, and that's why they're gravitating over towards him. It's not working. Maybe that's just for me. Maybe conservatives who love Pierre love that he's steadfast and stays like this. I don't know.
Well, and I would recommend that people check out, I know I keep pumping it, but I just thought it was really good, our conversation with Erica and Cheryl in the episode prior to this, co-hosts of the Discourse podcast, and we talk about that. We talk about the ideological impact or the impact of ideology on how people feel about their party leaders. And a lot of times people are, and they may not put it this way, they may not say it out loud like this, but they're more keen or they feel more conviction around their political party leaders sticking to their guns and continuing to steadfastly represent their political priorities as opposed to trying to win, as opposed to trying to form government, as opposed to the posturing that comes with what they do there at Parliament Hill or in the legislatures. It's an interesting insight for sure. This is kind of an interesting comment here as well when a lot of you are just talking about, you know, I mean, Jill, for example, says, you know, on the involvement of politicians whose French is subpar. You want some insight into that? I don't even know how to say subpar en français, so mine's the worst. But Jill says Alberta not having enough French immersion is a huge issue in the province's involvement in politics and general political frustration. Kind of an interesting point there. Yeah. Dwayne says Danielle Smith still endorses Pierre Poilievre. She does, and she has offered her endorsement ahead of his January leadership review. I'm not sure if you saw him refer to her as the brilliant Premier of Alberta. The brilliant in that interview with Rosie. That represents you guys, and this is something that's been flying under the radar. Unless you're a regular Real Talk listener, you've heard us discuss this before, but like Pierre Poilievre has not really worked, as far as we can tell, and based on pretty reputable sources, has not worked that hard to forge positive relationships with the provincial premiers, and in particular, the Conservative premiers. They wouldn't describe themselves as Pierre being in their corner or having their back. An obvious example would be Doug Ford, and those two are at loggerheads, maybe because Pierre Poilievre feels like Ford may be gunning for his job. But even in Alberta, they have shared the same rooms, and Danielle Smith has introduced Pierre Poilievre at a campaign rally. She did that ahead of the federal election back in April. But for him to refer to her as the brilliant premier of Alberta, I think was actually a pretty big step and maybe one of the more underrated moments of that Rosie Barton interview for sure. Others of you just sharing your thoughts on floor crossings. And of course, you can let us know what you think to talk@RyanJesperson.com. I saw one in here. I apologize. I lost your name as the live chat continues to scroll, but somebody said, I wonder how those that are being very critical of floor crossings right now, if they still support invoking the notwithstanding clause, if they support Alberta's move there on 4 different occasions. Interesting point as well. Vamp Fashion says, I support floor crossing as a tool of politics. Why are the Conservatives pressuring the backbench Liberals to come out of the darkness?
Yeah, I didn't understand that comment from Kenzie saying, she didn't like it because things are so close. Well, when else would it matter? When else does it happen the most than when you're a few people shy?
If it wasn't so tight, you would assume that a floor crossing would be it would be on the initiative of the individual.
Sure.
That says they were passed over for cabinet. I mean, there's egos everywhere, guys, right? Including in politics. And talk shows. But
I should look it up, though.
They're passed over in cabinet, or they don't like the leadership style, or what have. There could be a number of different reasons where perhaps they reach out and say, I'd like to move over. But you're right. To swing the balance of power, a lot of you were pointing out back in 2014, obviously those floor crossings, Danielle Smith, Rob Anderson, and others, led, by the way, a few days prior to that by Kerry Toll and Ian Donovan. You remember that? They were the two Wild Rose MLAs that were the first to cross. Absolutely crucified, the two of them were, for doing that. And then basically the rest of their colleagues joined them a few days later. But, I mean, Alberta's current premier crossed the floor. And it was a contributing factor to the demolition of the PC dynasty.
Yeah.
It blew up in everybody's faces in 2015, the Orange Crush election.
Yeah, I can't, like I said, I think the next week, up to the 20th of December, literally the next 3-4 days is going to be who is next? Because I tell you, Ryan, we're talking about Secret Santa gifts. Whoever that next floor crosser is, your Secret Santa gift at the Liberal Christmas party that they hold again, just because you did it, they're going to have an extra festive
another party for a reception.
That Secret Santa gift, oh man,
a welcome reception.
It might be a house.
Nick D says the floor crossing is okay. We vote for individuals. The party is a shorthand for the ideals they represent. It's okay not to like it, says Nick, who also says, I would like to see more unwhipped votes in the House. So would I, Nick. I don't know if we're ever going to see that, though. The free vote, of course, is an idea that I think, it's fair to say, wouldn't that represent the best of democracy, at least from a voter or from a civilian standpoint? Anubia says, I'm not a fan of majority governments. I think minority governments are forced to work together with other parties, and the resulting legislation reflects a wider range of Canadians. Anubia says, I did vote Liberal, but no thanks. I think that's a great comment. Ms. Katie says, everybody's saying that Mark Carney's government is a progressive conservative government. Why wouldn't the PCs want to sit with them then? I mean, especially if the ridings are so tight. Says, go look what Andrew Scheer said about floor crossing in 2018. That may be a reference to what Dominic LeBlanc was talking about. Cassandra says, I have no issues with floor crossing if the party continues to be obstructive and refusing to work in bipartisan fashion. Why not go where you can get the work done, which could very well have been what prompted Chris d'Entremont and Michael Ma. We'll have to wait to see if they're named to the next cabinet. That might also be a bit of a hint on the deal making there. Steph M says I should go get Ian Handsome Man Thing back on the show. We should go get the Handsome Man Thing back on the show.
Is that the first time? That's the first time I've heard that. Is that a real thing?
I'll give credit to Kiki Planet, a longtime friend of the show, for being the first to put that on my radar.
Okay.
We have referred to the one of the chief. There's two chief anchors at CBC The National. Everybody knows Adrian Arsenault, Ian Hannamansing. When Ian made his Real Talk debut, I do believe we did refer to him so unprofessionally as the Handsome Man Thing. But in his typical humility.
He is quite a looker.
Oh, he is a looker. I believe that he shrugged that off. Hey, I wanted to get to a note here from Alain. If you caught our interview with Naheed Nenshi back on the 11th of December, you may have heard me talking about the conundrum that any prairie-based NDP leader faces.
Which is?
And that is an ideological difference from their colleagues elsewhere in Canada. And a prime example would be when we asked Alberta's opposition leader about the conversation that he had with BC's NDP Premier David.about. We asked what what Eby's position was on this pipeline MOU and plans for the pipeline, and the fact that Naheed Nenshi goes on the record on Real Talk and says that he's pro-pipeline and he hopes to see it get built. And anyway, it prompts a longer conversation. And as you and I are debriefing about this in our December 11th episode, I point out that I think probably one of the biggest challenges for the Alberta NDP has been that association with the federal party. And there have been some musings, some rumblings. I don't know how seriously they've ever been taken within the provincial NDP's brain trust. My guess is not as seriously. My guess is the talks have not gone as far as they have just among members of the public, but about a name change, about changing from the NDP to another name that may attract the middle of the road, the nonpartisan voters, or those that would otherwise vote to support a platform like the Alberta NDP's, but not because of the name, and not the fact that membership purchases, when you purchase a membership with the Alberta NDP, you've always also received a membership to the federal NDP.
Oh, that goes hand in hand?
Yeah, it's always gone hand in hand.
Of course you're going to equate them together.
And a lot of people haven't liked that, and a lot of people have pointed out that that's really hurt, or they've predicted, or they've guessed, or they've mused about whether or not that has hurt the provincial party, the association with the federal party. So I'm talking about that, and it prompted an email from Alain, who wrote in to talker@jesperson.com. She says, Jespo, I love the Real Talk podcast, and says, I was listening to your December 11th episode, the one with Naheed Nenshi, and I had to add current information. That, as a host, you go, uh-oh. Current information on a comment that you made. She says, 47 minutes into the podcast. I love the detailed feedback here. She says, 47 minutes into the podcast about membership of the Alberta NDP versus the federal party. She says, there has been a change on the membership page. We're showing you Alberta NDP.ca. This is not my recruiting call. I'm not telling you to sign up or not. This is just Elaine's email. She passes it along. She says, check this out. And Johnny, I'm going to click through here. When you go to become a member, and I'm going to continue here to page number 2. I'm not going to become a member. That would set the internet on fire. But look at this. She says, now Alberta NDP members can opt out of becoming de facto members of the federal NDP. She says there's a box to tick. And look at this. I'm going to zoom in. Look at that. As a member of the Alberta New Democrats, you're recognized as a member in good standing of Canada's NDP, and you can click no. I would like to opt out of membership in Canada's NDP. Alain says, I'm including this, and I trust that you will find the right moment to inform listeners of this change. Well, Alain, this feels like the right moment, so there you go.
I don't know if I like a box saying opt out, though.
Why not?
I feel like
You'd
I would
rather
like
have it opt in?
Yes. Would I like to opt in? Because a lot of people, like, you see those boxes at the end of stuff. Sometimes, if they're ticked, you look at them. But if they're not ticked, you just go ahead. I would rather see a box that, like, you want to be able to tick a box when you're buying something to be like, I want all the promotional spam emails sent to me, right? So you just look, and if boxes aren't ticked, whatever. So I feel like it should have been, yes, I want to opt in. But, hey, I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, the whole opt-out, opt-in debate is one that I got a lot of time for because it's actually fascinating, right? Like, people think right now, I mean, what about the debate around organ donation, right? Like with our driver's licenses, right now it is opt-in, but a lot of folks have suggested it should be opt-out. And it sounds like a small difference, but it's really not. When we know
body parts,
how
though,
important,
I feel like that's an opt-in. It should be yes, I opt in, which is how it is now, you're saying?
But no, it's opt-in right now.
Yeah.
But if it were to be, I mean, if you had a matter of conscience, for
me, I don't care.
For a lot of people, it's religious convictions.
That's what I mean.
And for other people, it's just, I don't know. Some people just don't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
Some of you, I think, are flattering yourselves. Nobody can use any of your organs, you party animals.
If it's something important, I like opt-in. I like a yes. I would like to opt, especially if it's body parts. Like if somebody doesn't tick a box and then they get in a car accident, and their family's religious and they're about to take his liver, his spleen, his eyes, him or hers.
I wonder if the family could protest on that.
That's what I was just going to say. But even that is going through a big ordeal when you've lost a family member or someone close to you. I like to opt in better. Hey, I'm going to do a poll right now on our YouTube. Do you prefer opt in or opt out? And we'll see what our YouTube subscribers will say before we're out of here.
Yeah, I would. I don't know. I mean, I think that we do have, donation rates, organ donation rates and commitments. This sort of feels like something that we can do on the fly here to help support that. If you are renewing your driver's license, or I think you can just pop into a registry and make the change. I just consider that when it comes to blood donation and organ donation, the numbers are always horrendously low.
Yeah.
And that's a shout out to everybody that does donate blood, everybody that does make that commitment to donate their organs. It can even be a quick phone call or a text to a loved one to let them know your wishes. It's always a bit of a striking situation to be in when a loved one shares some of their final wishes with you. Mm-hmm. When your parents or someone close to you says, hey, just FYI, just so you know, we'd like to be cremated or we'd like to be buried or we want to make sure that everything that we can donate is donated. And none of us like to think about end of life. None of us like to think about losing the person that's very close to us. But these are such important conversations. Maybe by hearing this today on the show, it'll prompt somebody to make that move and commit to being an organ donor. I appreciate the debate on opt-in, opt-out, though. I'm going to put myself
right now.
What are the early returns on it?
It's about split. I said in regards to opting in or opting out, is it in, out, or depends? Because I want to say that like opting in on like promotional, emails is a lot different than opting into the federal NDP party or blood donation or organ donation with a driver's license or whatever. But I am of the mind, not because I don't want to seem like I'm fighting this, because I'm an organ donor. I'll opt in on giving blood. I'll opt in on all those things. I just don't like sneaky stuff. And I feel like, especially in regards to how you vote, in regard to politics, federally especially, to have to tick a box to say no, I feel like some people might miss that. They might click through quickly. I support the NDP in Alberta. Click, 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 click. Boom, 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 boom. Get my membership. And then I start getting stuff federally that I don't like. I like to opt in better. But right now we've got about 40% says they agree in. Out about 32%, and depends is about
Say 30%. It again. What was the percent opt in?
In regards to, in general, all sorts of opting in or out. It's moving now. We got about three ways. It's about 30 and a bit % for each of them.
Okay, so everyone's kind of split on this. But I think you also have to say, and this is not an indictment of your live YouTube
that's
poll,
why I just
but
clarified.
I'm saying bigger picture is like
different.
It's different if you're talking about organ donation versus like spam.
Yeah,
like if I'm going on to like people that are online shopping, and be sure everybody shop local as much as you can. But for people that are online shopping, and it's like opt in to like future updates from our retailers. Like no, I'm never opting in for membership updates. But if it's opting in to organ donation, that's a different conversation.
But you may have a few. I have a few things that I really like in terms of like products or I don't want to give too much away here. Just teams or things I follow where I do opt in because I do want to know about it. But of the hundreds and hundreds of things you sign up for over your lifetime, there's maybe like a handful, maybe like 10 or 20 that you want to opt in to be reminded about stuff. Maybe your favorite band or like a favorite clothing line. And that changes too as you get older and it's subjective and the time of year, etc. You may want to know about certain things around Christmas or in the summer, but then you don't want to in other places. So yeah, I get it that it's very subjective and this is like there's a huge spectrum on this, but in general, it looks to be split three ways, which
I'm not that surprised.
You're not helping us at all today.
Yeah, you're not helping us, Real Talkers. Yes, you are. You are proving that not everybody agrees on it, which I think is great. This is the sweet spot of this show. Hollis says, by the way, if Matt Cheneru had gone independent instead of resigning as an MP, he could be holding the balance of power on an Edmonton First agenda. Says, I'm still miffed with that guy for quitting. I'm sure he has reasons, But come on, man. That from Explorer Hollis. I mean, sitting as an independent for, I mean, like you said, in an Edmonton First agenda, Hollis has a fair point. I mean, obviously there were personal reasons. And we've been in touch with Matt Jenner. We've had a long-standing relationship with him. I've known him for, I don't know, at least 10 years, probably 15 years. We have spoken with him off the record. I would not betray any of that confidence on the show, but we are working, obviously, to get him on Real Talk to spill the beans. What about this from Ms. Katie? One time she says, I took a job at a competing restaurant, and stayed late, decorating the restaurant for Christmas. Didn't say a word, and then handed the hostess an envelope with my letter of resignation on the way out. What is that? Is that like a restaurant floor crossing? Wow. Huh. Gilles says, I wish there was an ability to reset our government system so that no party could ever have a majority. He says, I know that this just makes it so multiple parties work together, but it just feels like a check and balance. I like that. I mean, the idea of minority governments do better serve the population unless they can't secure the confidence vote that they need, can't get a budget passed, and then we're right back to another election that's going to cost $450 million, right? Fair to say?
Please no.
Fair to say?
Please no.
Let us know what you think on all of this. We sure appreciate your comments. They're coming into talkereileen.com. A whole bunch of you are saying, oh, sounds like Corb Lund is pissed. Make sure you catch our neck. No, he's definitely pissed. Make sure you catch. And I shouldn't speak on behalf of Corb. Like,
no,
but he's a public person. He's an entertainer. He's texting me in confidence, but I will just say, like, he is all kinds of fired up right now.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if you were going to say it or not, but that's the only reason I said in regards to him texting you that, we'd never heard him this fired up. But that's because it's such a contrast. When he comes on here, we know he's heartfelt about what he's talking about. Coal in the Eastern Slopes. We know he's fired up about it, but he maintains composure. He speaks eloquently. He speaks from the heart. He talks about people he knows. He talks about experiences he's had that made him form an opinion. So this time, I mean, we're not encouraging it, but I have a feeling he's going to be a bit more fired up than he usually is.
I see a bunch of live comments in the chat as well. Those of you that had a chance to check out my appearance on the discourse, we did a home. And home.
Yeah, it was really good.
So Erica and Cheryl came on our show in our most recent episode, and then they invited me
to tell us who you voted for.
To cameo on theirs. Can you believe it? Good on Erica for asking the question.
Peek behind the curtain. I'm sitting here, right? Because I set him up for the interview, and I'm sitting, and I hear you go, well, I voted for these people and these people and these people, and then you're like, in 20, what? And I'm like, he's gonna tell who he voted for and give the date. And I
never talk about how I vote for obvious reasons, and not because this audience can't handle it. This is an intelligent audience that understands nuance, but publicly speaking, and I'm just talking about Twitter, just to me, the gutter that is Twitter. I don't think that people can handle. Once somebody knows how you voted one time, then that's their understanding or their impression of you for the rest of your life. And I just don't want people having that information.
Sure.
But yeah, Erica asked, and I was feeling festive.
You delivered.
I was feeling festive, and I shared how I voted in a number of different elections, although I didn't like to get specific on the years.
You almost did.
She wanted 2015, 2019. I'm like, I'm not getting into that. But there was uncharacteristic candor.
There was.
And I broke character. Yeah. And you can check out the most recent episode of The Discourse for that. They've called it What Really Divides Us with Ryan Jesperson.
Side note, gutter is just an amazing potential change of the name if Elon ever loses control of
the
Twitter.
Gutter. Just call it
just
the
gutter. Like from Twitter to gutter.
Why not call it
X to gutter?
Swamp. Don't you think Swamp would be an incredible name for it?
And then what? When you post it, be like, I just gutted.
I just gutted. I like that. We've got more comments coming in on coal mining, and others of you are asking. Dwayne is asking me to bring on Paul Brandt or Jan Arden to talk about this too. Says they are also against open pit coal mining in the Rockies of Alberta. It would be a great roundtable is if we could coordinate. We could with enough time, I think. You get Corb Lund, Paul Brandt, and Jan Arden on. Paul would want to talk about human trafficking. That's he's been doing really incredibly important work in the province of Alberta on that front. And Jan Arden, of course, working to save the horses from the live export or the export of live horses for slaughter in typically predominantly Asian markets. But yeah, I mean, gosh, maybe we'll work on that in the new year. I want to get to a note here from Eileen. It's a really fantastic one. That'll be our positive reflection from today. Before we do, I just want to send a quick note out to those of you that through this holiday season are going to start looking ahead to your 2026 and not just wondering what it has in store, but taking some control over it, right? Plotting out a course, you might say, for what's next in life. And if that includes post-secondary learning, I want to make sure that you're considering Athabasca University. It's Canada's open university with world-class accredited online degrees and courses, so you can complete your education wherever and whenever it works for you. Like, number one, your only commute is to your device, so it's going to remove a lot of barriers there. And then the whenever thing, you're plotting it out, so if your family's going on a big vacation, or maybe your family needs you for something, maybe you're working 2 jobs, maybe you're looking after your parents and your kids at the same time, whatever the case is, there's a fit for you at AU. You can learn more about the AU Advantage by checking out athabascau.ca. As you consider where you will allocate your charitable giving this year, we're talking to you about 2 causes very important to us, and one of those is the Royal Alexandra Hospital. My family has many different personal connections to the Royal Alex, and chances are your family does as well. The Royal Alex marking 125 years this year and looking ahead to the next 125, and they've got a limited edition history book, the Alex, that's now on sale for the holidays. If you're listening to this show the day we're doing it, if it's Monday, the December 15th episode you're listening to on the 15th of December from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. today at the Royal Alex Hospital Food Court, you can pick up a copy of the Alex. It's a beautiful hardcover, wonderfully illustrated book, kind of a coffee table book that covers the history, 125 years of the Alex, remarkable stories of the echoes of the Alex. You can get it signed by the author and gift wrapped for free today, and today only, the 15th of December. Otherwise, you can order it online at royalalex.org or pick it up at the hospital, and consider a donation. If you're able, give for the future in honor of the past, either a one-time or a monthly gift to ensure that the care at the Alex continues through the next 125 years. Again, that's royalalex.org. Every Thursday here on the show, we feature stories of Albertans winning on the national or international stage. It's Alberta Wins, proudly presented by our friends at Play Alberta. With casino winners every hour, jackpots worth millions, and revenue that stays in the province, there's never been a better time to sign up to the Play Alberta app or at playalberta.ca. Right now, you can score as a Real Talker a $50 casino bonus when you make a minimum $50 deposit with the code RYAN50. RYAN50 for a $50 casino bonus. You got to be 18 or over to play. And if you do gamble, please use your game sense. You can send along those Alberta Wins stories. If you see something happening in your neck of the woods, we want to hear about it anytime to talk at ryanjesperson.com. Still thinking about that Friesen Brothers Christmas dinner. That was just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And you're probably wondering right now, John, where the leftovers are. And I apologize to you on behalf of our family.
There are none.
There are no leftovers, and that is all on me. The coal mining comments continue here, and I just want to let you know that we'll pick up that conversation tomorrow with Corb Lund. Again, if you have a question you'd like us to ask Corb or an observation, you can always send it ahead of time to talk at ryanjesperson.com. We wrap this episode, as we do traditionally, first episode of every week, courtesy of our friends at Solar by Kuby, with a positive reflection. This is us renewing our faith in humanity, oftentimes stepping outside the news cycle, something that fills our bucket, so to speak. And this was an easy one, an easy decision when we got this email from Eileen. Eileen wrote in after a comment that we had made, a kind of an impromptu conversation on the show over this past week about the holidays. And she says the holidays can be a really difficult time for me for family reasons. And some years, including this year, Eileen says it feels heavier than others. And I just wanted to share something positive, though. She says, even though I don't usually participate in your live chat, I'm there almost every day. Says, I read the comments, I recognize the names, and in a strange but comforting way, I feel like I know the people in that space. Eileen, I'm the same as you. She says, it feels like a community of thoughtful, oftentimes like-minded individuals who genuinely want to understand what's going on in the world. And I especially appreciated your comments the other day about the holidays not always being joyful for everyone, and about using this season as time to seek to understand one another and to gather in community wherever we can find it. She says that really resonated with me. Eileen says, for me, Real Talk and the live chat in particular has become one of those places. Even quietly, it reminds me I'm not alone. And she says, and I'm writing in to share how grateful I am for the creation of that space. That from Eileen. How amazing is that? So for those of you that join us live every day at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern, participate in that chat. Know that you are filling the buckets of others that may not even be chiming in. They may not even be leaving comments of their own, but they're benefiting from community joining together. Eileen, your email made our day, and we're glad to hear that from time to time this show makes yours. You can submit a positive reflection anytime to talk@ryanjesperson.com. Make sure you put positive reflections in the subject line. It is proudly presented by our friends at Kuby Renewable Energy. You can get a free solar quote today by visiting Kuby, that's Kuby.ca. Coming up on the next episode of the show, Dr. Raj Sherman joins us out of the gate, says he's got a solution to fix healthcare in Alberta, and it's a little bit different than what this provincial government is pursuing. And then Corb Lund is back to respond to being personally called out by the Premier of Alberta. That's next. We hope you'll join us.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson. Executive producer Josh Dunford. Technical producer John Hicks. General manager Katie Cook-Chivers. Account coordinator Lawrence Derlego. Human resources Lena Shepard. Website design Mike Johnston. Voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton.